Most people think becoming wealthy is about making better financial decisions. It isn't. It's about noticing the financial decisions almost everyone else overlooks. Over the next few minutes, I'll show you the simple mental shift that completely changed how I spend, save, and invest, and why it quietly built more wealth than the famous 30-day rule ever did. Once you understand it, you'll stop asking, "Can I afford this?" Instead, you'll start asking a completely different question. And that one question has the power to change every financial decision you make for the rest of your life. The package sat in my online cart for 29 days. A pair of headphones, nothing extravagant, just something I convinced myself would make me more productive. Every morning I'd open the app, look at them, close it, and tell myself, if I still want them tomorrow, I'll decide then. Day 30 arrived. I bought them. 3 days later, they were sitting on my desk collecting dust. The purchase wasn't emotional anymore. It felt planned, responsible, logical. At least that's what I told myself. The funny thing is, the 30-day rule actually worked. It stopped me from making an impulse purchase. What it didn't stop me from doing was making a bad purchase, and that's a much bigger problem. Because looking back, almost none of the money I regret spending came from buying something too quickly. It came from buying things I never truly needed in the first place. The waiting period gave me confidence. It didn't give me clarity. That realization changed how I think about money. Most financial advice focuses on controlling your behavior. Spend less, budget better, wait before buying. Compare prices, all useful advice. But almost all of it assumes the same thing, that your biggest financial problem is impulse. For many people, it isn't. It's unconscious spending. Spending that feels completely reasonable while you're doing it. Think about how purchases actually happen. You're tired after work. You're scrolling through your phone. Someone recommends a product. It solves a problem you didn't even know you had. You watch a few reviews. Everyone seems to love it. The price isn't outrageous, and suddenly buying it feels responsible. Not because you need it, because you've convinced yourself it's an investment. That's where our brains become dangerous. Once we imagine ourselves owning something, we naturally begin collecting evidence for why we should buy it. Every review becomes confirmation. Every discount feels like an opportunity. Every day you wait simply gives your brain more time to build the case. By the time day 30 arrives, you're not deciding anymore. You're simply following through on a decision you made weeks ago. That's why waiting doesn't always reduce desire. Sometimes it reinforces it. So I stopped asking myself the question almost everyone asks: should I buy this? Instead, I replaced it with a different question. What future version of me is paying for this? At first, it sounded strange. Then I realized it explained almost every financial mistake I'd ever made. Because every dollar you spend has two prices. The first is obvious. It's the number on the receipt. The second price is invisible. It's everything that dollar could have become if you had kept it. Imagine you buy a $500 gadget. Most people think they spent $500. Maybe. But what if that $500 had been invested instead? At an average annual return of around 8% 30 years later, that same money could be worth more than $5,000. Suddenly, the gadget didn't cost $500. It cost the opportunity to own $5,000 in the future. That's the price we almost never see. And because we don't see it, we don't feel it. This isn't about never spending money. It's about understanding what every purchase is competing against, because every dollar can only do one job. It can improve today, or it can improve tomorrow. Once it's spent, it can't do both. That's when I realized something even more interesting. The people who quietly build wealth aren't obsessed with spending less. They're obsessed with spending intentionally. There's a difference. Someone who refuses to spend money on anything isn't financially wise. They're just afraid of spending. Someone who spends freely on what genuinely improves their life while ignoring everything else, that's usually the person building wealth. Think about advertisements. They're rarely selling products anymore. They're selling identities. Buy this watch, become successful. Buy this laptop, become productive. Buy these shoes, become disciplined. Buy this course, become smarter. You're not purchasing the object. You're purchasing the possibility of becoming someone new. That's why buying feels so exciting. You're paying for hope. The problem? Objects almost never create identity. Habits do. The expensive notebook doesn't make you organized. Writing every day does. The premium gym membership doesn't make you fit. Showing up consistently does. The latest camera doesn't make you a creator. Creating every week does. We often buy the symbol of progress instead of making progress itself. And symbols are expensive, habits usually aren't. That's when another pattern became impossible to ignore. Almost every purchase that genuinely improved my life shared one characteristic. It kept creating value long after I bought it. Books I actually finished. Courses I actually completed. Tools I genuinely used every week. A comfortable office chair that saved my back every single day. Those purchases kept paying me back. Most of the others stopped creating value almost immediately. The excitement lasted a few days, sometimes a few hours. Then they quietly became part of the background. That's the hidden danger of lifestyle inflation. As we earn more money, we slowly become surrounded by things that once felt exciting. Then they become normal. A larger apartment, a newer car, more subscriptions, more deliveries, better gadgets. None of them feel luxurious forever. But the monthly bills stay. Happiness adapts, expenses don't. That's why earning more money doesn't automatically make people feel wealthier. Often it simply raises the cost of feeling normal. And that's where I think traditional financial advice misses the point. We're constantly told to cut spending, skip coffee, cancel subscriptions, stop buying unnecessary things. Sometimes that's exactly the right advice, especially if you're carrying expensive debt. But once you've built healthy financial habits, the bigger opportunity usually isn't spending less, it's making every dollar more intentional. Imagine two people, both save $300 every month. One spends the rest of their energy trying to cut another $20 from their grocery bill. The other spends that same energy learning a skill that increases their income by $500 a month. Both improved their finances. But only one changed the size of the game. We spend so much time optimizing expenses that we forget to optimize ourselves. Skills, relationships, health, reputation. Those things often produce returns for decades. That's why the question that changed my finances wasn't, can I afford this? It became, does this purchase create future value or simply future clutter? That one question quietly filters almost everything. A tool you'll use every week? Probably future value. Another subscription you'll forget about? Probably clutter. A course you'll actually finish? Future value. The fifth productivity app you'll abandon after 3 days? Probably clutter. Notice something. The question isn't asking whether something is expensive, it's asking whether it's useful. Price and value are rarely the same thing. I've happily spent hundreds of dollars on things that genuinely improved my life, and I've regretted spending $10 on things I never needed. The number wasn't the problem, the decision was. Eventually, I realized something almost embarrassing. The purchases I regretted most weren't the expensive ones. They were the forgettable ones, the impulse purchases that disappeared into drawers. The subscriptions I forgot were charging me, the convenience fees that slowly became habits, the upgrades that barely changed my life. None of them looked dangerous. That's exactly why they were. Financial mistakes rarely arrive looking like disasters. They arrive looking perfectly reasonable, again and again and again. Until years later, you wonder where all the money went. The habit that actually made the biggest difference wasn't waiting 30 days. It was learning to interrupt automatic decisions, creating enough space to ask one better question before every purchase. What future am I buying? Because every purchase is more than a transaction. It's a vote for today's comfort or tomorrow's freedom. Sometimes today's comfort is absolutely worth it. Life is meant to be enjoyed, but the mistake is making that choice without realizing you're making it. Money isn't really about numbers, it's about options. Every dollar you keep buys future choices. Every dollar you spend closes some of those choices forever. That's why wealth isn't built by making one perfect decision. It's built by making thousands of ordinary decisions with extraordinary awareness. The 30-day rule didn't make me rich, it simply slowed me down. The question that changed everything was much simpler. What future version of me is paying for this? Because once you start seeing every purchase through that lens, you stop buying things and you start buying futures. The interesting part is, the future you're buying isn't determined by one expensive decision. It's quietly written by the hundreds of ordinary ones you barely notice, and that's where wealth is really built.